Welcome back to Inside the Box. I'm your host, Joanna Lee, and today we are on the second episode of our International Women's Day series. Our next guest is a talented London-based cellist from New Zealand who is also a personal trainer. She has competed internationally and successfully ran marathons. I'd like to give a warm welcome to Lucy Gijsbers.
Hi, Joanna. Thanks for having me today.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. So let's start off with your origin story. How did you get into music?
Well, my mum, she's a piano teacher, actually, even though she doesn't teach a lot anymore. I've always been exposed to music at a young age, and I began when I was about 5. I found it pretty easy to pick up. So this is piano. But, at a young age, children, they're not really excited to practice or anything like that. So it took me a while to sort of get into it, even though I felt, comfortable and confident. I understood everything. It wasn't until I was about 10 years old, I think. And at that stage, I went to a local piano competition, and I knew a few people who were competing. And I thought, hey, you know what? I could do that too. So it brought up my competitive streak. And since then, I've just, really been focused on, piano, cello, doing the best I can. So when I was 10, my mum said, hey, you know what? Why don't we try a different instrument too? Would you like to play double bass? And I was like, oh, I don't know, not really. No, I don't like it. And we went along to this music academy local to my area in Wellington, and they didn't offer double bass to short people. They said it's best to start with cello. So, that's how it all happened. So I started playing cello then, and onwards and upwards.
Wow, that's an awesome story. It's good that you stuck with the cello because I think I really needed you during school.
Yeah. So Joanna and I studied together briefly as well in New Zealand School of Music, which was fantastic. And we played some chamber music together. Yeah.
It was like one of the best times we've had together, actually.
Definitely.
Speaking of school, during your academic career, what was the most significant thing you took away?
I really appreciated, there are a few things actually, but firstly, of course, all the performance opportunities. There's so many of them, both at New Zealand School of Music and then when I moved to London at the Royal College of Music. So that includes, chamber music, orchestra, and especially solo, because, as we advance more into our careers, solo doesn't really happen that much. It's more about the chamber and orchestra performance, but solo is where you really can't hide. And it's great to have had that opportunity to really push myself and prepare really well for concerts and things like that. So that's number one. And then number two, I really enjoy music theory. So I think, how old was I? I don't know. It was after I'd been at university for about 4 years, and the head of music theory at the New Zealand School of Music asked me if I'd like to tutor in music theory and piano. So I did that for a couple of years, and I just really love music theory. So that was awesome to have had that opportunity as well. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm really glad that you talked about music theory because the importance of music theory also impacts your education and how you view music and the way you interpret everything, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I feel, you can't really understand a piece fully until you really get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on, what key are we in, what does this chord signify, where is it going. It all helps with, the phrasing, shaping, everything. Yeah, underestimated.
Speaking of teaching, being in the position of both student and teacher, how are students impacted by their teachers?
Well, as a student myself, there are a few things I really remember, a few thoughts that have stuck with me, especially from one of my first cello teachers, Christopher Salmon in Wellington. And the quote that he said to me was, "The best thing a teacher can do is help a student to teach themselves." So in saying that, he means, you can give your student good fingerings, you can tell them what to do, but they need to understand why they should do this fingering, do this phrasing, do this bowing, and be able to figure it out themselves. Because a teacher is only with a student, like 1 or 2 hours a week, right? The rest of the time, the student needs to be thinking, practicing, not just with their fingers, but with their mind. And it's surprising how many university students don't even understand, how to figure out something basic like a fingering. So they can't even approach a new piece until the teacher tells them what fingering to use, which is a bit restricted. So yeah, I think we really need to respect our teachers and find a teacher who helps us, open our minds and be creative and learn, be able to pass it on to others.
Being a teacher myself, that it's often important to understand the anatomy of the person that you're teaching and to see what suits them best, right?
Yeah, everyone's different. We all have different bodies. So what might work well for one person, with a really small build, might be completely wrong for someone with longer fingers, for instance. Yeah, definitely. So we have to be able to change our approach as a teacher depending on the student. Also, with their personalities. So some students might be able to cope more with slave driver kind of attitude, but others just will not be able to tolerate that. So one thing I always try and do is say something positive after a student's performed a piece to me. I think that's a good way to start. And then from there, we have our criticisms, but yeah, be positive.
Absolutely. That's very important. That's significant in how we teach and how we influence the student as well.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of positive affirmations, what would you tell young musicians, especially women who are striving to be like you?
Right. Firstly, I think always respect your colleagues. So, if we go into a professional orchestra, always be nice, polite, say hello, don't just be on your phone all the time. Interact when you can. And, even if your desk partner might say something negative about the conductor or the soloist, I wouldn't recommend joining in with that. So always be friendly and positive, and people will want to work with you in the future if you're like that, because we've put in all the hard work. It's all about how we present ourselves. Always know what you're doing before you get to a gig. So make sure you're well prepared. You know the music inside out. You know what else is happening around you in the orchestra or the chamber group, whichever. What are some other things? One thing I'd like to say is that once we become professionals, make sure you value what you do. So don't do gigs for a free lunch. Like even as a professional now, I've still done a few random free gigs that I probably shouldn't have done. And that brings down the value, like not just of our own, our own selves, but also our fellow musicians. So yeah, unless it's for charity or a friend,
yes,
always, be paid. Do paid gigs.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Also be flexible. So, it's great to be a classical musician, but have an open mind. You can do pop gigs, recordings, just whatever. yeah, anything.
You're right about that. And I'm really glad you brought up the charity work, because I think that was one of the things we bonded over when I was at the New Zealand School of Music.
Oh yeah, for the Christchurch earthquake. That's right.
How did you feel about
right.
that, by the way? What was your thoughts on the concert and the organization part of it?
I think everyone appreciated, doing something, giving their gifts for other people, the victims of the earthquake. And yeah, the audience, they wanted to come, they wanted to support us, well, not us, because we didn't obviously get any of the takings, but support us in our performances. And they appreciated why we were doing it. I thought that was great. That's always stuck with me, the concert we did.
Let's fast forward and talk about your journey to London. What were the key factors that influenced your transition?
I've always had a fascination with London as a city, like just always, both in literature and just, history. And it's never a boring place to be, even during COVID, I think. So after I graduated with masters at the New Zealand School of Music, I had a year or two just teaching and working, and then I thought I'd like to go to London, study a bit more, do an artist diploma. So I came here for an audition and received a scholarship that covered my international fees, which was great. And then I spent a year at the College of Music.
Moving forward, I know you have performed in major orchestras, concerts, and competitions. Can you tell me more about your experience and what your thoughts are?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start with orchestras. So I did some work with the NZSO, and also when I was younger, the National Youth Orchestra. So I was principal of the National Youth Orchestra for a year, and that was great, actually. That was good preparation. I really recommend doing all these week-long intense courses if you can, if you're an up-and-coming musician. So that's my New Zealand experience. And then coming to London, I've done some work with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, which is wonderful, and the other orchestras like Oxford Philharmonic. And I've also done some work with the LPO fellowship scheme recently. And then internationally, I was invited to do a gig in Estonia for the Nordic Symphony Orchestra, which was pretty exciting. So that was a week-long gig, and we performed in Tallinn and then another one of the cities over there. What else? Oh, and then preparing for auditions and things like that. That's wonderful. So again, it's a bit like, solo performances. You've got to study the score, know exactly what's happening. So treat it like a performance, which I try and do.
Moving on, let's talk about your other role as a personal trainer. What was the inspiration behind this career path?
When I was in my first year of university, I really enjoyed eating chocolate. And I think I was buying a bar of chocolate per day, like not the small bars, but the large one, and consuming them. I don't know why. Maybe I just didn't have enough to do when I was traveling to and from university, except eat. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure I put on about 8 to 10 kgs of pure fat, which is not great. And then one day I was like, okay, that's enough. I have to change this. So I didn't really know what to do, and I was just running a bit, which I've always done anyway. And then I saw an ad to join a gym, first time. So I did that, and I just, got quite hooked. It can be really fun, especially all the gym classes and things like that. And I saw the effect it had on my body. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, and I've always found nutrition, since then at least, nutrition and exercise really interesting, because it obviously affects you directly. So I wanted to learn more about it. So after I graduated from university, I decided I had a bit more free time and I'd like to learn more about this. So I did my PT qualification and sports nutritional advisor qualification. Then I started working at my gym, doing personal training. So it's a bit like teaching, really. So you help the client to achieve what they want to. And again, everyone has a different body and a different approach, different needs. So you'd write a specific program for that person. I really liked it. I haven't really done it at all since coming here, except just with friends. But it's a great thing. I'm glad I did it.
You should start.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Speaking of personal training, Lucy has prepared a special video for our audiences, so you can follow along or you can just watch, and you could always come back to this video. So enjoy.
Hi everyone, today I'd like to share with you an efficient and effective workout you can do at home. This takes about 20 minutes and all we need is an exercise band. The exercise I'm talking about is Tabata, and this routine is usually only done with cardio as hard as you can for 20 seconds, 10-second break, then we repeat the exercise 8 times. You can download a track of this off YouTube or just use a stopwatch if you like. So, as I explained, it's very short, but your heart rate should get quite high. So therefore, very intense, very effective. However, I like to vary the exercise a little, and instead of doing the cardio exercise 8 times the whole way through, I do strength, cardio, strength, cardio. So I alternate them both. So the first one I'd like to share with you is, not using the band this time, push-ups for the strength, followed by squat jumps. Back to push-ups, squat jumps, and so on. Push-up technique. We can either do them from our knees or toes, hands wide, core tight, as many as you can for 20 seconds. Okay, 10-second break, then we come up, ready for squat jumps. Weight through the whole of the foot, ball of the foot and the heel, evenly balanced, knees out, core tight, chest up. So down, and then springing up. This is a bit tricky. You can just do air squats. Right, so then we repeat the push-ups. After you've done that 8 times, have a good break. On to the next one. This time we pick up the band. First exercise here is for the back. So we step on the middle of the band here. Pop our hands in the loops. Knees slightly bent. Back straight. Chest up. And of course core tight. Then squeeze the shoulder blades together. Bring the elbows in close. Targeting the back. After 20 seconds, put this down and we go into lunge jumps. Technique for this, feet about shoulder width apart, facing forward, going straight down and then switching over. If you need to, of course, you can just walk these out, showing you side on, straight down, pushing off the front foot, and alternating. Then we have the break, back to the rows. So then you finish the second set of Tabata. The next one I like to do is squat and press. And I prefer doing this for the whole Tabata. It's quite intense. So technique here, we're going to start in this position up over here, squatting down, core tight, knees out, nice and balanced, up, and then press. You might need to lean forward slightly as you squat down with your arms overhead, and that's okay. Just find that balance. All right. And then your final Tabata is one of my favorites. Hopefully it will leave you breathless. And this is burpees. So we can either do this with hands wide or hands narrow. I'll show you both options. Chest to the ground, so it's a sprawl burpee. Here we go. And hands narrow. So aim to fit 5 to 6 per 20 seconds. This is a bit too high impact for you. I'll show you another option side on. You could either try hands like so, elbows fairly straight, but not locked. Or you can step out and back. And there we have it. I hope you enjoy it.
Wow, thank you so much, Lucy. That was awesome. I will definitely refer back to this video and be inspired to do these workouts. What are the advantages of musicians keeping a healthy and active lifestyle, especially during the pandemic?
I think as musicians, we're often, just playing our instruments, so we're in one position all the time, like, sitting, doing this. So it's great to be flexible, move around, use all our muscle groups. It's just generally, a good thing to do anyway, especially during the pandemic when we're all inside, sitting around a lot of the time. Musicians are essentially athletes as well. What we do, it's very physical, and we're using fine motor skills like piano, cello, whatever. So we need to look after our bodies, and working out, eating well is one way of doing it.
Absolutely. So I was also wondering, how do we stay motivated, and what are ways of preventing injuries while working out?
To stay motivated, I think the key is find what you enjoy to do. I mean, personally with me, I like circuit training as for one, because it's interesting, it's varied. I quite like the cardio interspersed with the weights, so that's great for me. I see results fast, but for someone else, they might enjoy cycling more than that, for instance. So find what you like to do and stick with it.
Absolutely, whether that be a dance class or running a marathon.
Yeah, exactly. As for the marathon, I mean, I can't say that I particularly enjoyed it that much while I was doing it. It took quite a long time, and I couldn't really move very well for a few days afterwards. Yeah, marathons are tricky. I think I prefer half marathons or 10Ks now.
Definitely. Any advice on training for a marathon?
Let's talk about diet first. So have some protein. I find protein powder really helped me. Like during lockdown, I was trying to run maybe 50 kilometers per week or something, and I was doing really well. Like my speed was pretty good compared to what I used to do. So the diet, sustenance, that's one thing. Have some protein, also some carbohydrate that doesn't absorb into your bloodstream straight away. So we're talking low GI food. I wouldn't say toast is enough for a 10K. So something a bit more sustainable. So that's one thing. Find what works for you, for your body. And then the next thing, do some interval training. That's great. Get your lungs working really well. So you could do, some sprints, then have a walk or a slower run, and then sprint again. yeah, don't be afraid to walk or have a break when you're training. It's fine, as long as you're intense for the rest of it. Also, running technique. So make sure when you're running, you're not just landing on your heels. So you need to push off with your toes, the ball of your foot. I think when I first started running, I didn't do that enough. But since using barefoot shoes, it helped a lot. Don't have a shoe with a really thick heel. Go for something a bit more minimalistic.
Okay.
And then foam roll as well. So you can, just Google how to foam roll, and that's great for recovery.
Moving on, are there any projects you are currently working on?
Musically, a friend and I, we're performing, I don't know if it will happen, hopefully June or July, depending on the COVID situation. So we're going to be doing some duo repertoire at a club here in London. And then fitness-wise, I'm just going to really enjoy it when the gym's open again, so I can get back to lifting proper weights. And I'd like to try some cycling as well, so we'll see what happens there.
Absolutely. You should come visit us in Vancouver, where we have cycling all year round, rain, snow, or shine. So Lucy, I was wondering, how would you celebrate International Women's Day?
Well, I think every single day we should be looking after ourselves, both physically and mentally. So I suppose International Women's Day, that's just a chance to continue with walk down to Tower Bridge to my favorite cafe, grab a brownie, only if it's a sunny day, something like that. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. I don't know if I would have a brownie every day though, because I have to sort of, look after my health.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I try not to get into the habit.
So
once a week, maybe.
Yeah, once a week maybe. But that's a great suggestion. And can you tell me more about this cafe?
Oh, well, yeah, it's a great location by Tower Bridge. And they just have the most amazing chocolate brownies. And I'm not really a big brownie person, but these ones, spot on. So when you next visit London, I'll take you there.
Excellent. I'm going to hold you to that. So it was absolutely lovely having you here today, Lucy. Thank you for your time. For everyone who joined us, thank you. Your support means a lot to both of us. After this, there will be a performance of Lucy. So make sure you stay tuned, enjoy, and don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. In the meantime, stay well and practice healthy social distancing. Till next time, bye.